Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to talk about a couple of things that all stem from something that Joe Biden said this past week about 9mm. First off, I want to discuss the fact that a lot of people think, because of what he said, that there is now an effort to ban 9mm. That there is proposed legislation or an effort from the White House. People are actually actively trying to ban 9mm. Well, that is not the case. I just want to let everyone know that right now there is no legislation pending. There is no ongoing push from the White House. In fact, they often have to clean up stuff Biden says. And this is one of those. They are not trying to ban 9mm. That would be political suicide. They aren't doing it. Just not happening. But with that being said, given what we learned this week about 9mm, we might wish they would be doing that. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but I learned for the very first time. I've been shooting for, over 40 years. Actually, almost 50 years. And I didn't know this, but if you shoot someone with 9mm, it pulls their lungs to the outside of their body. I never knew that. I've never shot anyone up close with 9mm, I guess, to actually see it happen. It sounds horrific. I did not know this. I doubt you knew this. We owe this knowledge to our illustrious president, Joe Biden, who brought it forth to us with his good old homespun, old-timey wisdom. The way he uses, facts and logic to present these things to us. And after I heard that, I'm like, well, I don't want someone's lungs to end up on the outside of their body. That sounds gross and messy. Especially I don't want that to happen if I'm close to them or they're in my house or something. So I started thinking, well, one thing we probably should all do is start looking for another caliber for carry, because who wants to carry a gun that is known for ripping people's lungs out? I don't want to. I don't want to carry a caliber that's known for that. I've told people not to carry 9mm for a long time. Turns out I was right. But as I started doing research today, using the same, like I said, logic, reasoning, and factual information that Joe Biden used to enlighten us about 9mm, I found that there's kind of a downside to every round when you shoot somebody with it. And I'd like to share some of those things with you today that might help you make a decision about what round you're going to change to if you don't want to suck the lungs out of a person. Let's start off with 32 ACP. When I looked up 32 ACP, you would think, it's a low impact round. It's not a high caliber. It, shouldn't suck their lungs out. And it doesn't. But unfortunately, when you shoot someone with 32 ACP, they get the theme to Reading Rainbow stuck into their head for a week. Now, that wouldn't be so bad for me. I'm kind of a big LeVar Burton fan. But other people might not be. So you might not want to subject someone to this. Like I said, that's pretty bad. So if you're not going to use 32 ACP, the next thing up the ladder in popular carry calibers would be 380 ACP. Or 9mm Kurz, as a lot of people know it. Well, I thought, that would be a good option. A lot of people carry this. But then I found out that you might not want to use 380. Turns out, every time you shoot a bad guy, or anybody for that matter, with a 380, a Nazi angel gets its wings. And I think there's enough Nazi angels. We don't need any more. So I'm scratching 380 off my list. I don't know about you. Maybe you love that kind of thing. But for me, makes 380 a no-go. Now we skip over 9mm and we go to 357 SIG. Now, 357 SIG, what I found out about that is disturbing. It says that shooting someone with 357 SIG can cause spontaneous lycanthropy. That's werewolves, people. You could turn someone into a werewolf. Talk about backfiring on you really quick. I'm thinking that's probably why 357 SIG never took off as far as carry rounds are concerned. Every time someone defended themselves with it, the bad guy became a werewolf, ate them, and no one else bought 357. They didn't buy any more 357 SIG. That explains a lot, actually. So that makes perfect sense. Next, you would go to 40 Smith & Wesson. And I think we all love 40 Smith & Wesson. But even the 40 has a really negative downside. Seems like if you shoot someone with a 40 Smith & Wesson, they shit Skittles for sometimes up to a month afterwards. Now, I know that might not sound so bad, and I could see an upside to that. You'd never starve. But it also depends on when you get shot with 40, do you shit Skittles like when you would normally go shit? Or do you just immediately start uncontrollably shitting Skittles and that lasts for up to a month? Because that could be a problem. So 40 might be off the list for a lot of people too. So after 40, we would have pretty much 45 ACP. 45 ACP, been around for a long time. You think to yourself, okay, it's been around a long time. If something bad happened from shooting somebody with 45 ACP, we'd know about it by now. But there have been some pretty conclusive studies on 45 ACP that have found that when you shoot someone with 45 ACP, they forget how to drive a stick shift. That actually explains why most kids these days can't drive stick, I guess. You know, they are the descendants of people that got shot with 45s and lost that genetic ability to drive a stick shift. I don't think we want that happening anymore. It's getting to where car makers aren't even making sticks. So we need to stop carrying 45 for the sake of having the ability to buy decent, sporty cars. So don't carry 45. This is the one caliber I'm going to ask everyone not to carry. Next we have 10 millimeter. This one was really surprising to me. It turns out if you shoot someone with 10 millimeter, kind of similar to the lung thing, this affects the spleen, but it doesn't pull it outside the body. It actually turns it into a Will and Grace Season 3 DVD box set. And I don't think anyone wants that. You don't really need your spleen, but who still has DVD players? So that just seems like a waste. So you might not want to carry 10 millimeter, even though I have said for a long time that 10 millimeter is the optimal carry gun as far as caliber goes when it comes to semi-automatics. It seems it has some pretty bad side effects. So you notice pretty much all of the common and popular self-defense calibers in semi-automatics have drawbacks. So I thought, well, how about revolver calibers? Do they have the same negative effects? Well, it turns out they pretty much do. Starting off with 38 Special, it has been proven that if you shoot someone with 38 Special, it causes them to vote third party. Yeah, that's right. They throw their vote away. Everyone tells you vote third party, you're throwing your vote away. So we don't want to do that to people. So looks like 38 Special might be off the list of good revolver calibers to use. Next, you move to 327 Magnum. That one, it turns out no one's ever been shot with 327 Magnum because nobody carries it. So there's no evidence on that yet, no data. So we'll have to skim past that one and go right to 357 Magnum. Now, 357 Magnum is one I love. I carry it all the time. It's my favorite carry caliber. And here I always thought it was fairly harmless, but it turns out when you shoot someone with 357 Magnum, you give them AIDS. Yeah, you heard me right, AIDS. That's horrible. I mean, who wants to hurt the person they're shooting like that? I mean, it would have been a lot worse in the 80s and the 90s to be shot with 357 Magnum. Nowadays, I guess if you get shot with 357 Magnum, it's very treatable. But there's still some social stigma, so there is still something there to consider about 357 Magnum. I'm really going to have to think about my carry guns of choice. And next, and finally here, in the revolver calibers that are common for carry, we're looking at 44 Magnum. And you might think, oh, 44 Magnum, that's also a really powerful round. It's been around for a long time, should be very safe. But it turns out when you shoot someone with 44 Magnum, now this doesn't happen every time, but it seems to happen 67% of the time. When you shoot someone with 44 Magnum, you risk creating a rip in the time-space continuum, shunting that person back in time where they then have sex with their great-grandmother, and they are now their own great-grandfather, causing a time paradox. Time paradoxes aren't good for anybody. Really could go bad. So I think most people should probably stay away from 44 Magnum. Unless, of course, there's bears where they live. Because, I don't think it happens when you shoot bears. Because who cares if a bear goes back in time and becomes their own great-grandfather? It ain't going to matter. So, like I said, maybe you don't want to carry 44 Magnum unless there's bears around. But if you look at this list, you can see there's always a negative side effect from pretty much every gun caliber you shoot someone with. Every caliber that's common for carry and popular for carry. It's almost like that's kind of the point. Like you're not wishing great things on the person who's trying to harm you or trying to harm someone else. But like I said, when you consider these things, pay attention to what your caliber could be doing to people, because you might want to change. You might decide, okay, I'm going to use 40 because I like Skittles and maybe they'll give me some. I might just stick with 357 Magnum because here's a little fact. If someone's trying to harm me or my kids, I don't care if I give them AIDS with the gun. That's the way I would give them AIDS, with the caliber. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. I really do appreciate you being here. Until then, I want to remind everyone out there to always carry, but be aware of the consequences if you actually have to shoot someone. And stay safe until I see you again.